two reasons why you will be successful: inspiration or desperation.
Hey, Tom Peng, love what you're doing on your channel, buddy. Super congrats. You know, giving your time and energy to nonprofit business channel. Look, man, keep driving that audience. So Tom Peng, look forward to spending some time with you. I know you got the right mindset, so I'd love for you to share some of that from the big V. God bless, be great. 10X.
I work pretty hard, and I would say, you know, because I work so hard, I'm kind of lucky. I had some early successes in my life, and I would say I'm different, okay? I am not like most people. I met a lot of very successful people. I have mentors that are very successful. You know, I have mentors that are in the $500 million asset range to all the way to over $1 billion, right? Or more. And I met a lot of very successful people over the years, and I befriended them, and I'm learning from them. And one thing that I gathered is that there are two reasons why someone will be successful. Only two. And it's either inspiration or desperation. Okay? And there's always a story behind it. There's always a reason for their success. You know, there's always a cause, a mission. Let me explain, all right? Steve Jobs is an example of somebody that succeeded because he was inspired, right? When he saw the user interface at Xerox, he was working with Steve Wozniak back in the early days of computers, and he was working for Xerox. And when they first saw that user interface that we commonly know today in Windows and Apple Macintosh, you know, he knew that would change the world. You see, Apple did not invent the user interface. Apple actually stole it from, you know, borrowed it, copied it. They're a copycat. They copied it from Xerox. That is a story not a whole lot of people know. Google it, it's true. So when Steve Jobs saw this thing, they knew this would change the world. And that became Steve Jobs' mission. He knew that he wanted to popularize this user interface. He wanted to make everybody use a computer because this user interface will make everything so easy. Everyone will have the ability to use a computer, have access to a computer. And that was a mission, that was a dream. And he was inspired. He wanted to make that happen. And he worked all his life to make that happen. And by doing so, he became very rich. He became very successful. People respected him. He became a legend. And he wanted everything to be perfect. If you look at the Apple product, everything is well designed, near perfection, right? He's after a very niche market of you know, people that want perfect products, perfect user interface, perfect phone, perfect everything, right? Be best or be nothing. Actually, that's a Mercedes slogan, but that is also what Steve is aiming after, right? He is an inspired person. So his success comes from inspiration because he has a mission, he has a dream, he wants to make it happen. He's not doing it for mom, dad, kids, children. In fact, he does not acknowledge his own daughter. He says, "This is not my daughter. This is not my girlfriend. I did not make a baby with them." He's kind of like that. That's another whole story that you can Google and find out, right? He's not doing it for his children. He's not doing it for more sex. He's doing it because he's inspired. He wants to change the world. He wants to put a dent in the universe. And that's what he says. He wants to put a dent in the universe. When he met the CEO of Pepsi Cola, when he tried to get him onto the Apple team, I forgot his name. I'm sure that my YouTube team will put his name there. That's what he said to the guy. He said, you know, join me, let's put a dent in the universe. And that was the phrase that convinced the guy to join Apple. Long story, and that turned out to be another huge disaster for Steve Jobs, but you know, that's not the purpose of this video. But he was inspired. He did it because he was inspired. He wanted to change the world. He wanted to put a dent in the universe. So that's one kind of person. And I would say those type of people are very, 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 very few. All right? Those people are very few. I would say 1 in a million. All right? 1 in a million. Steve Jobs was truly 1 in a million. Right? He didn't do it for any other purpose other than he wanted to change the world. All right? Another person of this category would be like Elon Musk. Like, who would want to go to Mars? Seriously, who would want to colonize Mars? Right? Who would be so daring to say, hey, fuck the oil and gas industry, fuck the automotive industry, I'm gonna build electric cars? Who would do that, right? He's doing it for a purpose. He's doing it because he has a mission. He wants to change the world. He wants to end the world dependence on oil and gas because it's bad for the environment. He wants to change it, right? And if you look at Tesla, they're building cars, they're trying to make them cheap so that everybody can afford them because they're on a mission, right? They're on a mission to change the world. They're not there to make lots and lots and lots of money. Yes, they are, but of course money is important, but ultimately they're mission driven, right? So that's what Steve Jobs, Elon Musk are. They're inspired. They're driven by inspiration. And again, these people are very, very few. And for the rest of us, right, we are driven by desperation. I would say most people are driven by desperation, which is very, very sad for humanity. I would say most people, you included, are driven by desperation. If you work in a job and you collect a salary and at the end of the month, the company pays you a paycheck and you use up the money, you wait for the next paycheck, you're living a life of desperation. You're desperate. Every month you don't have enough money, you're waiting for the next paycheck. That is a life of desperation. And if you're poor and you have no money to pay for food and housing, you're desperate. That's desperation. Most people are desperate. Very few people are inspired. They don't have enough money, they don't have enough resources, and sadly for most people that's the end of the story. They just stay desperate. I'm desperate, I don't have money, but I can't change anything. I'll just work my very low salary job and live my life like that, and my only purpose is find a girl, have sex, make babies, and die. That's most people. I will say 99.9995% of the world population is like that. All right? They don't have a true purpose in life. All they do in their life is just to make enough money to survive, stay alive, and if they're lucky, they find a mate, they fuck, they have babies, and they die. That's it. Right? And that's most of the people. And for a very, 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 very small percentage of the desperate people, they become successful because they're desperate. So I can give you some examples. Dan Pena, my mentor, he was desperate. He grew up in poverty. He grew up in a very bad neighborhood. He grew up a very problematic child. But when he grew up, he realized that he really wanted a change. He really wanted to change his environment. He wanted to make things better. He wanted to live the good life. And he decided to, make a difference, right? So that kind of success comes out of desperation because they're so poor and they want to make their lives better. Another example would be Grant Cardone. He endorses my YouTube channel. You see him in my intro sometimes. He was desperate. In his 20s, in his mid-20s, he had a drug problem. He was shooting up drugs, he was drinking a lot. I think that's the case. And it was so bad. It was really, really bad. He was puking on the floor and passing out every night. And eventually, one day he was so desperate, he realized he cannot continue like that anymore. And he checked himself into a rehabilitation center, a place where they help alcoholics and drug users. And he checked himself out, and he made a promise to himself that he will never, never, never use drugs again. And that he's gonna change his life, and he's gonna turn his life completely around and become a true success. And for Grant, he hit the rock bottom. He couldn't be worse. His life could not be any worse. And he made that realization he has to turn it around. And then he turned it around and he built true success after that. He's a very successful sales coach. He's a very successful business person. I don't need to tell you more about it. You can Google him and you'll find out. I can tell you so many stories. A lot of successful entrepreneurs, they become successful because they're desperate. Because, maybe in their childhood, maybe in their life, they suffered, because they are in poverty, they're poor, and they decided to do something to make a change, right? And those people, become successful out of desperation. Again, very different from Steve Jobs, which is inspiration. And people like Grant Cardone, Dan Pena, and they really become successful because they're so desperate and they realize they need to make that change, and they finally make that change. And the people that are successful from desperation are a majority of the successful people. They become successful because they're desperate, not because they're inspired. The inspired people are very, very few. Those are in the minority. Most people become truly successful because they're desperate. They realize they need to make a change, and they made that change. It's like Buddha, finally being awakened. Oh, I need to make this change. I need to do this now. And then they did it, and their life turned around, right? So where are you in your life? Most likely you're desperate. You're young, you're desperate, you have no money, you have no job, or you're in a bad job, you don't like your job, you don't like what you do, you're fucking desperate. But are you gonna do something about it? Or are you just gonna stay desperate? See, I know a lot of you are desperate, right? But you're very motivated to help your family. Like, your family needs your help. They maybe live in the countryside, their quality of life is not that good, and you really want to change that. And maybe let that be your inspiration out of desperation. See, use that, motivation to drive you to success. I know a lot of young people in Vietnam, they really want to help their family. They want to help their parents. Why not use that energy to propel you to success? Let me tell you more stories. I know so many girls that come into the city, young girls, they want to help their family, right? And they get into bad jobs. They go to massage parlors. They suck dick for a living, right? It's not the right way to make money. And honestly, coming from Tom, I don't think that's the right way. It's a really bad way, and it's not the way to make a lot of money too. You cannot be rich by sucking dicks, right? You cannot be a very successful dick sucker. I guarantee there's no way the society will not recognize you as a truly successful person by you sucking a lot of dicks, right? That's not the way to do it. But they do it because they care about their family, they want to support them, and that's the only way they know how to make money, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to think about your career path. I want you to think about what you can do, not suck dicks, but what you can do to build a successful career, make a lot of money so that you can help your family, your parents, right? Use the desperation that you have and be inspired and make a difference. And that is how you are going to be successful. Take fucking action and don't be a fucktard.